Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Picks Core Pick video, Core Pick live stream for today, July 5th. Hopefully, each and every one of you had a good 4th of July. Hopefully, you kind of remember what that holiday is all about. It's not just about the fireworks and all that good stuff, but, the United States gaining their independence and all that. But if you're joining me for the very first time, this is how this video is going to go down. Typically, if we have Core Picks in the traditional sense from the day before, I'll go over a recap of that. Last 2 days have been shorter slates, so I looked at the slate a little bit more in totality. Hopefully, you guys did some pretty good success over the past couple days. So not really doing a recap there. We'll look at some of the weather reports for today's games, 11-game main slate in total today on a Wednesday. And then we get over to FanDuel, talk about my core picks for today. 1 pitcher, 4 hitters. So guys that either stand out due to recent history or past history and hitter versus pitcher matchups. Not a lot of hitter versus pitcher history there to be had today. A lot of younger pitchers pitching and guys that haven't faced a lot of the teams that they're going against, at least early on so far. And then last but not least, I'll go over to the YouTube community tab. Bottom half of the cheat sheet, talk about the top GPP teams that I do have to stack for today overall. A lot of those are going to be teams that don't really have history against the pitcher they're going against. So, it could work out really well, could work out pretty poorly today. So a lot of different things that could happen today. It's obviously something that can always happen at any point in MLB, but that is something to keep in mind. So definitely a good day to mix the match once again. But in terms of the weather report for today, not too many games that we're looking at. Some small chance of rain in a couple of these games, so not really going to highlight them as much. Washington, they got a 21% chance of rain in that game versus the Reds. That's out in Washington. Let's see. We're just going to keep moving down here. I know in Chicago, 74% chance of rain for the White Sox versus the Toronto Blue Jays. So that will be one that we'll keep an eye on throughout the day. Jose Barrios is a kind of interesting pitcher today if that game ends up going off, but maybe his ownership gets a little bit suppressed because of that. He's still kind of a hit or miss guy, but had a little bit of decent success so far this season and against the White Sox this year as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. Nothing too else major we'll see as we keep moving down here. A lot of 0%, a lot of domes. So really the Chicago game is the major one to look out for. Maybe a small chance of rain in Washington as well. But if anything does majorly change with that throughout the day, we'll leave it down in the comments below, as well as many starting lineups as I can get to today. So definitely be sure you're checking up down there as we get closer to lock. If you guys have any questions at any point during this video, feel free to drop them in the live chat if you're watching live. If you're watching on a replay, leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But with that being said, we're going to stop sharing this screen. We're going to go over to FanDuel, talk about those core picks that I do have for today. So like I said, there's not a lot of history to go off of today. So a lot of this is going to be a little bit more in recent history today. But we're going to start off at pitcher. We got Justin Steele here. He's only $9,700. A guy that's pitched really well so far this season. Has a long history against Milwaukee, although, he hasn't really been a starting pitcher for too long. But, this year, 46 points versus them. Last year, he went against them 6 different times. You got to keep in mind some of these were starts. Some of these were probably relief appearances. There were probably 1 or 2 relief appearances in there where he followed up a starter that didn't pitch as well. So keep that in mind. But he had 31 points, 49 24, 15, 36, and 48 Bruce Milwaukee last year. So some pretty good success there. Obviously a long track record. The only guys that have decent hitting history versus him, Willie Adames 4 for 13 with 1 home run, and Christian Yelich 5 for 13 off him. So other than that, been pretty good against this Brewers team. Brewers are a team that can hit left-handed pitching a little bit better. Justin Steele's obviously a left-handed pitcher, but the Brewers lineup has really struggled, at least early on this season. So do like him quite a bit. Do like the upside that he does have in terms of fantasy points, in terms of strikeouts and everything else like that. Averaging that 34 points on the season. Obviously, if you go a little bit more and we click on him, 2.43 ERA, and he's got 9 wins on the season in total. So he's going to look pretty good. He was injured for a little bit of time. He's had 3 starts back. 2 of those 3 starts have been over 40 points, so no real concerns for him at this point in time. Then we're going to go down to first base. You can play this guy at first base or third base. One of the few guys that has a ton of history today. It's Justin Turner. He's $3,300, averaging almost 11 fantasy points on the season. He goes against the Texas Rangers and John Gray today. He is 12 for 36 with 2 home runs in his career versus John Gray. So some pretty extensive history there. And Justin Turner's been hitting the ball pretty well as of late. Stayed relatively healthy so far this year, which is good to see for him. Obviously, one of the older players on that Boston Red Sox team. 279 average, 13 home runs, 47 RBIs. If you look at this, he's got a 4-game hitting streak going on, and 2 of those games have been multi-hit games. You get 2 home runs during that time span as well. So like the upside that he does present today. I don't mind the Boston Red Sox going against Texas Rangers and John Gray. If you're going to play Justin Turner, probably going to play Alex Verdugo in that stack as well, since he's 4 for 11 with 1 home run versus John Gray as well. They're not going to be one of my top stacks, but if you want to go out and play them today, definitely don't have a problem with that. Then we're going to go down to second base with Nick Gonzalez. He is a rookie second baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He is still at the flat minimum of $2,000 today. So probably going to be a very high-owned player today. Very chalky, but with good reason. So if we look at what he's done so far in the season, averaging 12 fantasy points per game, hasn't played a lot of games so far, but a 314 average, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and that flat minimum price tag of $2,000. You look at the past 3 games, they've been multi-hit games. I believe that 4th game ago against Milwaukee was just appearance off the bench, obviously. So he's got about a 4-game hitting streak going on. There was that little like 0 for 7, 0 for 8 at the beginning of his career that maybe had a little bit of cause for concern. But since then, Nick Gonzalez has been on fire. He was a really highly touted hitting prospect and a top 5 overall draft pick in his respective draft class. So not surprised by this by any means. And, at $2,000 does make a lot of sense. He goes against Bobby Miller today. No history versus him at the MLB level. They probably faced off at some point during the minors, but do like that upside. Bobby Miller is a predominantly fastball pitcher. He'll mix in that slider too from time to time, but should be a pretty good matchup for Nick Gonzalez in general. Then we're going to keep moving down. We got Manny Machado here. And the Padres are a team that I kind of have some interest in today. Patrick Sandoval, a little bit hit or miss there as a pitcher. He's pitching for the Angels against them. And the Padres really have been hitting the ball pretty well the past 2-3 games. So Manny Machado sneaks in here. He's $3,200. We see what he's been doing on the season. Only 9.5 fantasy points per game. Had that really down start to the year, so you only see the 254 average. But he's got 11 home runs, 38 RBIs, $3,200. If you look at what he's done recently, 3 multi-hit games in the past 4 games, so some pretty decent upside to be had there at that. He only has 1 at-bat versus Patrick Sandoval in his career. He does not have a hit in that at-bat, but looking to change that today. Then we're going to keep moving down, and we're going to get to the outfield. We got Max Kepler here at $2,800. Been pretty solid since he's been back. You look at the season in totality, a little bit over 8 fantasy points per game, 222 average, 12 home runs, 30 RBIs. But if you look at what he's been doing a little bit more recently, should be a pretty good matchup today against Alec Marsh, who has no career history versus, making his 2nd career MLB start for the Royals today. But Max Kepler, you see 4 multi-hit games in his last 5 games. This one with the 1 at bat versus Baltimore, have to assume that was kind of more of a pitch hit appearance too. So if you take the 4 games that he started recently, had multi-hit games in all of them, going to make him a pretty interesting play. $2,800 definitely gives you some decent upside for that price tag overall. And we'll have to see what the props look like for Max Kepler today, because there could be an interesting prop on him today, whether it's total base, whether it's a hit plus run plus RBI. In this matchup could be a pretty interesting one overall today. Unfortunately, our prop of the day yesterday and Spencer Torkelson ended up going 0 for 5, so he did not hit kind of the 3 that I was looking at the best yesterday. Unfortunately, did not end up hitting. So you're going to have that sometimes with baseball. Everything going to look like it lines up, and then guys still go out there and they go 0 for 4, 0 for 5. So that is a part of the game on every day. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that do have listed here, you definitely don't have to play all 5 of these together. Obviously, you're trying to build some stacks, especially on this 11-game slate where you want to mix and match. But, if you want to throw Nick Gonzalez as a cheap one-off in there, probably going to be a plan that a lot of people do. But you can do this a lot of different ways. But if you went with these 5, you'd have $14,000 remaining, $3,500 per player. A lot of room to pay up if that's something you want to do. Or, if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on today's slate as well. Like I said, a very, very good slate to mix and match. But with that being said, we're going to get off of FanDuel. We're going to go over to the YouTube community tab, bottom half of the cheat sheet. I'm not sure if I already mentioned it today, but the cheat sheet is 100% free. It is up on Facebook. It's up on Twitter. It's up on the YouTube community tab. Also up on Patreon with some more in-depth notes, as I always try to talk about. If you want hitter versus pitcher matchups, like I said, not a lot of that today, but if you're interested in that, Monday through Friday, some additional notes, very small monthly donation over at patreon.com/Coach Greg Sports. But with that being said, this is the cheat sheet. We got the bottom half here. And the 4 teams that I do have here today in total are teams that don't have history against the pitcher that is pitching against them. So a lot of risk here, but a lot of upside at the very same time. So we have the Baltimore Orioles going against Randy Vasquez of the New York Yankees. I believe it's the 3rd career start for Randy Vasquez at this point in time. Hadn't been too good in AAA. His first start was kind of mediocre at the big league level, but he pitched pretty well in his second start. So we don't really know what we're going to get out of him. Have some interest in him. If you want to go with the Yankees on the opposite side of the game, probably going to be a little bit more popular against Dean Kramer, who is kind of hit or miss history versus them. Could be in play as well. Then we have the Minnesota Twins going against Alec Marsh. Made his big league debut against the Dodgers, I believe. That was last week at this point in time. And then going against the Twins today. Twins bat's been a little bit better as of late. Still striking out a lot, but do like the upside that they do present against a rookie pitcher in Alec Marsh, who had like a 4.6 ERA at the AAA level. And then we get over to the San Francisco Giants. Not a team that we've been stacking too far this year, usually against left-handed pitching. Today it's going to be against a right-hander, and I believe it is Darren McCone, who is either going to be a very limited multi-inning reliever at this start or an opener at the very least. Can't really say for sure what Seattle's plans are, but it's going to be him. It's going to be a Seattle bullpen, so there is opportunities to get on the board often and early in that game if they can get after him early and get into that bullpen, kind of strain them a little bit. Could be a very interesting matchup today. And then last but not least, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers going against Oswaldo Bido of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's made a few starts now at this point in his career. I think it's like 5 or 6 now for him in terms of his very, very young career at the major league level. Kind of hit or miss at the minor league level, hit or miss at the major league level, I should say, so far too as well. Never faced the Dodgers before, but obviously the Dodgers lineup has quite a bit of upside. There's some cheap guys there too. Obviously, I have James Outman in my cheat sheet. He's probably going to be pretty popular today because he did end up hitting 2 home runs yesterday. But a lot of different ways that we can approach this slate today. As I already mentioned, if you want to stack the Padres, who have been really hot against Patrick Sandoval, that's another team to consider as well. But with that being said, pretty much what I have at this point in time in terms of MLB DFS core picks for today, in terms of top stacks, weather report, everything else like that. If you have any additional questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. As I already mentioned, I will be listing any weather updates down there, as well as the starting lineups throughout the day, throughout the night. And then, as always, if you as always, very interested in hearing who your favorite play is for today, whether it's someone from my cheat sheet, my top GPP stacks, my core 5 picks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing who that is for you. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to do so, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's primarily MLB DFS. We got some CFL DFS going on. That video will be out later today. Very interesting slate for that. Obviously, a little bit more spaced out for the CFL DFS side, but if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. That's obviously more on the DraftKings side and will be on the FanDuel side, but that's just kind of the way we're approaching it at this point in time. We'll try to have that MLB prop of the day out later today, so be sure to check that out down in the comments or up on Twitter. And then hopefully you guys hit with that. Hopefully you try out Parlay Play, Prize Picks, and BetUS. Promo code down below. Coach Craig Sport for Parlay Play. Click on the link for BetUS, and then obviously the referral code that is up there for Prize Picks as well. Looks like we got Lord King Guru dropping in here too as well. So he said, what do you think about Lance Lynn over Steele? So the thing with Lance Lynn, very up and down so far this year. Doesn't have the greatest history versus the Toronto Blue Jays. If you want to go out there, if you're playing multiple GPP lineups, definitely can mix them in there. Obviously, it's just one of those guys where it could go right on any slate, but it could also go terribly wrong. Very predominantly fastball pitcher, so we'll end up seeing what it looks like. I know in my cheat sheet, I'm going to scroll up here too, just because you said we're talking about the savings that you could save from Justin Steele going down to him. I have Brian Bayo here versus Texas. It's kind of an interesting play, but in that like $86 to like $8,300 price range, there's a couple different pitchers there that you could consider today. So if that's something you want to do, there's nobody like too overly expensive on today's slate. I know Pablo Sandoval's all the way up at the top at like $10,800. Not crazy about his upside. A little bit of hit or miss versus the Royals this season. So we'll kind of see what it looks like overall. I think it's going to be pretty flat ownership. I don't think anybody's going to remarkably stand out. If anything does like majorly change with that throughout the day, we'll just kind of talk about that too. But, like I said, Lance Lynn, you never know what you're going to get with him. You can get the 40 plus points out of him, or you can get like the -5. So it's really interesting at this point in time. But if you want to take a shot there, the ownership probably shouldn't be too high as well. But that's pretty much what we got in terms of MLB DFS for today. Once again, do truly appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. Hopefully each and every one of you had a very good 4th of July. Hopefully you have a good rest of today and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.